Welcome to Earthtide Studios. I'm Zach Knight, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I edit a video just like this one using a free editing software, DaVinci Resolve. Let's check that out. So welcome to episode number 3 of how to make content as a producer. And this video is just going to show you how I make videos just like this one. In fact, specifically, this is about how I edit a video like this one using a free editing software called DaVinci Resolve. Now, DaVinci is super powerful. I can't believe it's free, to be honest with you. It's ridiculous, and I find it very, very, very cool to be using for all of my video editing, whether or not it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I find it really, really super useful. Just to let you know, I also do provide a lot of production information, mixing, engineering, all of that kind of stuff in my other YouTube videos. I also have a free vocal production course that teaches you the basics of recording, editing, and mixing your vocals. If you want that, just click the link below. I also have some premium courses, and I do one-on-one production mentoring. But if you want any of that, you can just hit me up on the links below. But for now, we're going to jump into DaVinci, and I'm going to show you a video that I'm editing right now. So here we are in DaVinci, and you can see my stupid face on the screen, and I'm wiggling my arms around and trying to say something. And what this is this is just me doing a catchphrase like I did at the start of this video, where I kind of just want to explain what the video is about in the first couple of seconds. So let's just have a look at this one. Welcome to Earthtide Studios. I'm Zach Knight, and this is how you squash your vocals. So this video is about vocal compression, hence the reason of the squashing of vocals. It might look a bit confusing here with a whole bunch of different information going on in this screen. It's actually extremely straightforward. So you've got your video section here, and this is your audio section here. And if you're a producer and you're familiar with obviously using a DAW, this is far simpler than that. So when you open up a brand new project in DaVinci, you're given a blank timeline here, and you've got no media or anything along those lines, and you need to get started. So the first thing you want to do, let's say, for instance, we're going to create a new bin, which is what they essentially call folders, and we're going to call this one Video Editing 2. We'll open that up, and we want to put some media in there. So we're going to right click and go import media. I'm going to find some media that I've got here. So we'll go to YouTube videos, new videos, how to make your vocals explode, and then we'll click open. And what that'll do is it'll put this video here. Now, just to let you know, I actually go into Cubase and I strip the audio out before I put it in here, and I mix the voiceover. But if you didn't want to do that, you could actually mix that inside of Fairlight, which is here. And you could actually go to whatever particular track was your voiceover, and you can actually add on different VST effects onto your actual voiceover itself, which would be this particular channel here, and you can mix your voiceover there. Or alternatively, you can import your video into your DAW, take the voiceover track, and then you can actually put off whatever processing you want to put on there, export that, and just make sure that it matches up at the same timeline. And then what you'd be able to do is you'd be able to go to import media, and you'd go grab your screen cap and your voiceover. Just to let you know, by the way I'm navigating around. So if I click, for instance, here, if I hold in Alt and mouse wheel, it'll zoom in on where I am. If I use Control, it'll go left and right. And if I Shift, it'll make whichever particular section I want to go larger or smaller. Okay, so here we are with the Make Your Vocals Explosive one. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get rid of all this, and I'm going to show you how I would import it again from scratch. The first thing I would do is I would click and drag the footage and bring it over to here. And then I'll press I, and that'll put this little thing here. And what that'll do is it'll mean that anything within this bar here is going to be available to export. And by the way, to jump back and forth to the next cut, you press up to go back and down to go forward to the next cut. So we've got our footage here and we've got 4 tracks. Now, we don't need these 3, so I'm going to select them and press backspace, not delete, and it's going to delete those tracks here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the voiceover track and I'm going to move it down to here, and I'm going to grab the screen cap and I'm going to move it down to here. Then I'm going to grab both of those, zoom in, and make sure that they line up. Now you can see here, this particular track is one over, so I needed to line it up there. So now it's lined up. And what you want to do is you want to grab your footage, you hold in Alt to duplicate it, and then I happen to know that you need to go minus 480 and 480 here. And so now this track, the track whichever is on the top is the one that's visible. So if I press D, it'll become invisible, and then it'll go to my screen cap one, which you can see if we come over here, you get to where I've got the DAW, where I've got Cubase open here. And now what we want to do is we want to press spacebar and just check to make sure that the voiceover is actually lined up in time with the video, because it is lined up in time with the audio. But remember what I said before about differences in terms of time delay between when it actually goes from the camera into the computer. Welcome to Earthtide Studio. Welcome to Earthtide Studios. So you can see that's not in time. There's actually a little bit of a delay there. So what I want to do is I want to go back over here, grab this here. We're going to take it to here. Check that now. People to pull this off. And I'm going to show you that you can essentially pull this off with almost any vocalist. So now that's in time, what you want to do to make life easier for you so that everything is in the right way, just bring the cursor a little bit further to the right, and then you want to hold in Control and press B twice. And what that'll use, it'll use the blade tool, and then it'll cut everything in all of the audio and all of the video. Then press delete, and that'll bring that back over to where it was before. And then you can press I, and that will make that thing then come there from the start. We have the original video here, which is 480 positioned to the right. Then we have another one, which is 480 positioned to the right here as well. That one is also 480. This one is minus 480. This one is minus 480 as well. And this one is 480. And I'm going to show you the difference between all of them as we go. So we're going to press D to make them all invisible, and then you'll understand why I've got different copies of different ones. So this is the first version of the video where it's just showing myself on the video there. Then I have another version of it, and this one's blurred out. The reason I have this is in case I want to put something over the top of it and have something running in the background. What I do is I go to Filters over on the left-hand side, and I would click and drag over this thing called Gaussian Blur, and then I usually just leave it as is. After that, I have this one, which is another copy of it, just because in case I decided I wanted to make some adjustments to this. Then I have a copy of the screen cap, which is blurred out. So what I do is then you've got a copy of this plugin here and this effect here. If you want to do something kind of cool where you cut this out over there, you'll go into Fusion, and then you would grab the rectangle and you would make this a little bit larger so you can see, drag that over there, and then you drag this rectangle over here, and you need to make sure that this little square is matching to media 1. Do that over here and it will cut and cover that part there. Essentially, you want the rectangle to be covering just most of the plugin, really. Then you go back to edit mode. You only ever really want to be in edit mode, fusion mode, or color mode, by the way, when you're going through. And you go back to edit, and I've done that kind of not the best. I'd probably go through here, go back to the rectangle, and maybe like move that over a little bit more. And then you move this a little bit. If you move it by the arrows, it'll move exact. And then what you can see is this here is now showing the plugin, and then there's a blurred version of Cubase in the background. Because if I got that out, if I made this unblurred, say for instance, I turned the Gaussian blur off, kind of just looks exactly the same. So this makes it just a little bit interesting. So, you know, come along here, we'll find where I open up the plugin, the exact frame, go I'll find where I move it and I stop moving it. There. Okay. So then what I'd do is I'd go like here, and then you would go, so then on this one here, you would go to Fusion, and this rectangle, you would cut that off, and then you go back to edit. And then what will happen is we'll go from here. Now that's just what it sounds like raw. So what we're going to do now is we are going to throw my favorite plugin to put on to be able to help these kind of, and voila, you've now got a section where you've got a cut where you've got like, you're explaining the plugin. It's really focused on there because you've got that blurred. And there's one other thing as well that's worth noting. There's another version of me on the bottom right-hand corner. The way that you can make that work is by simply taking the footage that you've got, like this one here, where it's the 480, and then you just want to zoom it really small and then adjust the Y until it's further over. So if we wanted to do it with, say for instance, we'll turn that one off and wanted to do it with this one, you would adjust the zoom and then you adjust the Y. You could make it smaller, put it at the top right-hand corner if you wanted to. Really easy to do. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump back over to the video that I'm currently editing right now. And I'm going to show you a few different things that we've got going on here. So we've got our starting thing here, and then I have an intro that kicks in with a bit of music that runs underneath the background. So you've got your vocal track here, voiceover, and you've got your screen cap here. So then I have this little intro render here, and then I have a little bit of one of the productions that I do that comes in. So in this, cool. I mean, it sort of really just does exactly what it looks like there. This is something that I got one of my friends to make. So unfortunately, I can't tell you how to do this, but like, honestly, you don't really need to make it do this kind of thing with the flashy, you know, effect and all that kind of stuff. You could do it however you wanted to. The music in the background, just use one of your productions or one of your songs. That looks probably the easiest way. What I've done here with this particular effect here is I've taken some footage that was really long, and then I've applied a speed change to it where I've essentially sped it right up so it goes really fast. So if we turn off the digital glitch, it looks like this. And that's just me moving really slowly with the microphone being like an idiot. And then on top of this particular thing, I also have a Gaussian blur to blur it out. And then over the top of it, I have this thing here, which is digital glitch. I have taken some text and I've put an effect on it. So I've just taken digital glitch, just gone and imported it onto a text plus. And then you go to here, and what it'll do is it'll do a bit of a glitch with whatever title and whatever your color you want. You can see that little red bit there to show that it's still rendering. So you got to wait a little bit for it to happen. And then we press play. Now that's rendered. Let's just mute the intro. There we go. Now, obviously, that doesn't really look as good as it what did before with the one that I did. I've got heavy vocal compression written on there for this one. And I've just picked a color blue. And then when I press play, it looks like this. And obviously I changed it to Dead Revolution, which is a different text that I like. Then I have this little thing here where it goes, and it's basically just like a boo kind of sound that sounds like, you know, those old TV sounds there. And please stand by for Earthtide Studios. Yeah, it's a bit lame, but it's what I like. So then I have the intro to the video. Now, this is a part that you're probably going to see in this video here. And what I do is I have the little bit of explanation at the start of the video and a way that people can get some of the things that I offer, whether or not it's the vocal production course or anything along those lines. And what I do is I grab a instrumental stem that's turned down quite a lot of a piece of music that I've worked on or am working on, put that in the background, and I just go with the camera face, the camera position that's going straight to the camera. That's the only one that I play, and I let that. So in this video, we're going to look at vocal compression, specifically aggressive vocals, and how you can use a few cool techniques to make them sound really powerful and in your face. We also have a Now, you'll notice there's a few edits that have gone in here because I waffle when it comes to the way that I present to the camera sometime. And so that is why I've had to cut some of that out. And you also note that I do mention, of course, the whole link below thing. How do I make that work? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. I take this little image here, which is a link below box, and then I take a little arrow and then space it between it. If you want that, click the link below and there's something cool to make. And it literally looks like, if I turn this off, it looks like this. It's just a box. And then I turn this off and it's just this link below thing with an arrow. And then as you go along with it, it flicks on and off. And then I put the box back on, it goes like this. Click the link below and there's something cool to mention. I will say this, I do have a little bit of a fade in here and a fade out for that, which you can do by literally any piece of audio. You just click on it and then you can do this to fade in and out, and it comes through to my transition here with a transition title. And look at those vocals. So how do I do this transition thing? Well, so I've gone into Fusion, and what I've done is I've added text with whatever the particular title is, and then I've made it whatever size that I wanted to have it to. And then after that, I have merged it with a background. The background is a solid color, which is this black one here. And then after that, I've merged it with this media. And what the media is a bit of footage that I took when I was out in the wilderness with some trees. And essentially I've made it so that the text itself is superimposed. It merges in with the background to allow it to become wherever the text is where footage is. So if I go to this media here, I think I need to do that here. I can adjust the size like that. See, now you can see the original footage. And this is what you end up with at the end. Look at those vocals. And the best thing about it is you can just go into whichever is the next particular title. Then you go to Fusion and you just go to text and just write in your new text. So I could say something along the lines of delay. And now when I go to here, really powerful and in your face. Now let's actually have a look at the different editing that I've got going on in here. So in this particular part here, I've got the audio that's going along here for the voiceover. You can ignore this, by the way. This is just the guide audio from the camera. I've got the voiceover, and then I've got the actual screen cap here. So we have the song Phoenix here by the band Color and Shade. And I'm just going to quickly show you this second verse and pre-chorus, and we can have a listen to what we're working with here. This fear was right there. It's pretty straightforward. All it is I've got this particular video here, which is the one which is this part down the bottom here. Then I've got the screen cap here, which is the thing playing there. I've cut along here where I've essentially taken a little bit too long. And then I've gone to video transitions and I have put a little video transition here in between, which is a push transition here. This one here. And all I've done is basically just put that in there because I go to a section where I basically push the video to the right hand side and get on to what's going on with this particular piece of music here. Listen to what we're working with here. This fear was mine, these flames. So that's fine and all good. And then after, basically I'm turning off different clips by pressing the D button as I go along. And then I'm fading out the screen cap here just so that I can get onto what I'm saying. So as you can hear, there's a whole bunch of different vocals going on, but the aggressive vocals are really powerful and pretty cool, right? Now, it might look like it's getting pretty complex over here, but essentially the easy way, the way that this has become really, really easy for me in the way that I edit this is I preset all of this up when I do the start of each of the videos. So you can see, obviously in this one here, I've preset all the different spots. And then before I do any other editing, I actually go through and find every single place where I reference a plugin and do that little cut rectangle thing. Over here, I have the Waves L1 limiter, go along here, and then you can see there's a cut here and then something else happens. I betcha, yep, I'm using another plugin here, Decapitator. The only other thing that I do other than that, I will say this, by the way, if I say, for instance, I was editing, the next part I need to edit is over here, right? Good old 1176, I say, that comes in. Let's show how I would edit some of this dialogue and get rid of any annoying noises and ums and ahs and things that I do. The tone, and that is essentially what we're after here to get that. So I've done that over here. I've introduced the 1176 all the way over here. One is the good. I've done a bunch of editing of the compressor pretty hard. And when I say pretty hard, have a look at what we're doing here. I will ignore. That's great. We'll see what's going on here. Essentially, we're pinning the vocal. We're really smashing that with compression. Good job, Zach. That's right. You keep telling people things, and then we'll go over here. A real spitty kind of tone. And that is essentially what we're after here to get that compression on an aggressive vocal in your face. All right. Now, I've kind of made my point here. Let's see what I say at the end here. And in your face. It's kind of giving it a real spitty kind of tone. And that is essentially what we're... And the reason that we're doing this... Cool. So I've kind of made my point here. Let's see if I do anything else that's relevant. What I would do here is I would press D and D and D and go back to myself here just so that I can see what's going on, because I kind of don't really need to involve the screen cap because all I'm doing is just talking about the actual thing and not actually referencing anything on the screen. Giving it a real spitty kind of tone, and that is essentially what... All I do is just make sure that the edit between this frame and this frame doesn't really look really strange. If it does, I might change to the screen cap just to make it sort of not look so jarring in your face. Now, you could go for a 4:1 ratio if you did. I start talking about ratios here. I feel like it's not necessary. I've already made my point. Okay, so this is the next point that I get to here. So what I've done is I have basically found the next point that I get to. So then I hold in Control and press B twice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of all of this, because people can't be bothered paying attention on YouTube a lot of the time. So you want to make sure you get to the point as quick as possible. And if you waffle on, like I have in this particular video, you want to get rid of some of that. So we're going to press delete and it'll slide everything over and it'll match it up. So then we go from here. Let's just do this to get that compression on an aggressive vocal in your face. And then after that, I would absolutely follow up with a de-esser. And look, it almost looks like I actually intended to go straight to that point next. Okay, so then I'll get to this video here. End of this video.
Your latest uploading.
So damn awesome. So there you go. Turns out cool. So I have my little bit that I say at the end, and then you have a little cross dissolve thing that I've got going on here. Let's have a look at that. What is that? A blur dissolve, which is right here. And then I've gone from there. And then what I've done is I've introduced some background music at the back to sort of have an audio cue that the video is getting to the end. So damn awesome. So there you go. Turns out you can use delay to be able to actually make your vocal reverbs and also to accentuate things and have them sound a little bit different and give them their own cool, unique space. Cool. So I've essentially gone through and recapped the video at the very end, which is a cool thing and useful thing to do so that people understand, you know, again, what they were really getting out of it. Then after that, I make another referral to any of the information they can get off me if they want with the link to the description below. And then after that, I have a little bit of an outro here.
Burn it down and bring the reaper. I'll carve a world to bring you back and find you now. Burn it down and bring the reaper.
And you want to make sure that you have a fade out with the actual video and with the actual audio and that they match up together at the same time. Now, there's a lot more that you can go through in the detail with this, but realistically, that's the basics of how you would be editing a video for a YouTube video in DaVinci Resolve. I'm quite happy to go through this in detail. For anybody who wants to know more about this, feel free to hit me up. I'm going to be doing some other videos showing editing of how I edit videos for TikToks and also how I do some AI editing as well. For now, feel free to get in touch with me if you want to get a copy of any of those courses, or you can hit me up in the link below. Otherwise, I hope that you're well and take it easy.
Burn it down and bring the